Today we're going to continue sewing our love monster. Last time we used whip stitches to sew together the front and back of our monster body, and if we added arms, we used a running stitch to sew through those places. If you have more thread that's still left on your monster from last time, you can put your needle right onto that, or if you need to get a new piece of thread, then choose one that is arm's length. Put it through the eye of your needle, which is the hole right here, and then you should have a short end and a long end that you use for sewing. The knot goes at the end of the long piece. You only need one knot right at the end of the long one. Do not tie a knot onto your needle or it will be really hard to sew. Now once you have your needle threaded, you are just gonna pick up right where you left off last time. So I'm gonna go through next to my last stitch, pull it all the way through until that knot catches on the back, and then continue with my whip stitches, just like before. Remember, our goal is to try to get them as small and as neat as possible, meaning that I sort of want them to all be the same size and the same distance apart. And we know that they're not gonna be perfect every single time, but each stitch is a chance to try again. So with every time we put our needle through, we try to make the best stitch we can. So I'm just gonna keep on going, sewing around the perimeter of my monster until I finish one ear. Once I have gotten to the end of my first ear, I'm gonna leave this top part of the head open because that's where I'm going to stuff it with polyfill. So I'm gonna get a handful of polyfill and I'm gonna tear off just a small little chunk and I'm gonna start putting it inside the body of my monster. If you have a lot of extra thread, you can just leave your needle and thread sort of dangling off to the side for a second, because as soon as we stuff it, we're gonna go back to sewing up the top. Now when I do this step, you're gonna have to use your fingers, or you can even use a pencil to poke that polyfill down into the corners of your monster so that it's filled evenly. And we don't wanna stuff our monster as full as he can be. We just wanna stuff him a little bit so that he's like softly three-dimensional. We still want him to be a little bit flat on the surface so that we can add his facial features later on. So I'm just gonna keep on adding little bits. I'm gonna stuff a little into this ear over here. Make sure that I get some up in the face area. And then when he's just gently three-dimensional, I'm going to take my needle. I'll get more thread if I need to. And then I'm just gonna continue sewing with my whip stitches. Now this is just a little bit trickier because you're gonna have to hold the pieces together as you sew and make sure that they stay lined up. The polyfill makes it wanna pull apart a bit now, so you're gonna have to pay more attention to this part as you are putting your needle through the front and back piece. That's another reason why you don't want to stuff it too full, because it makes it pretty hard to do this step if it has like a really wide open top from too much stuffing. So I'm just holding it with one hand and then stitching with the other, doing the best that I can to keep my stitches nice and neat and small. I'm just gonna keep on going until my stitches get all the way across the head and meet back where I started. When you're done, you can take off your needle and then tie your knot in your last piece of thread so that your stitches don't come undone. Try to get the knot as close to the fabric as possible, and then put your finger on it and pull it tight. Then we can trim off any extra thread. And I sort of squish my stuffing around in there to sort of even it out a bit. And make sure your name is still on the back with masking tape so that you'll be ready to add the face to your monster next time.